a few months ago, I was in Long's over there, and they had a, I took a picture of it and put it on my Instagram. I'll try to dig it up for this, but it was a picture of a chair, like a child's beach chair, and it had the pedal symbol swirl on it. I took a picture of it and I put it on my, like I said, my Instagram. And I was in there today looking at it, and it's covered up with like a sticker, like a sign of how much the chair is. And then they got a blow-up flamingo in front of it. It's like to put all the shit in front of it. I don't think they follow my Instagram, but it's kind of funny that, I mean, it's clearly been obscured. I should have taken a picture of it. I was right there. But yeah, you don't know. You don't know. I mean, I got low subs, relatively low view counts. My consistency is really good though. But I did a video, and this is, I'm bringing it up just to highlight this. I did a video a couple weeks ago about the disappearing homeless, or what I appeared to be disappearing homeless. I was finding carts all around the neighborhood of like homeless stuff that they travel with, like this dude coming up here on the road. And what happened is I was finding them just sitting by themselves unattended. They don't leave that shit behind for any reason. So it was just about that, and it tied into you know, the possible human trafficking, and I went through a little bit like that about that, because the island definitely has a history with that, you know, not officially, I guess. But so usually I get a couple dozen views per video, almost exactly, like if you look through them all. And in that particular one, I got over 2,000. And I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe I just caught the, you know, I caught the, however the mysterious algorithm works. And my friend Jay, who I met here through the channel, he sent me an email, and he's like, do you think that's kind of weird? And I'm like, what? He's like, that you got all those views for that one video. Like, what he was trying to say is that, you know, maybe someone, the wrong type of person, saw it, and it was passed along or some kind of thing, because of what it was talking about, the human trafficking, which I've done a couple videos about that here. Actually, I've done quite a few, tying together things I've seen. And I always say too, it's like, you know, I gotta live here, so I don't like to talk about it, but anyway, I saw this. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It is kind of weird though. And then right after that one video, it just goes back to a few dozen, you know. I wasn't worried about it until he brought it up. I mean, I'm not worried about it now, but I did, so I went digging into my analytics just to take a look. And I noticed after that, whereas before, I pretty much was exclusively just had male viewers. And now I have a lot of female viewers. Now, why the fuck does that matter? Well, a lot of agencies have female employees. And when you log into these things, even if you're working for an agency, I would think you would at least, you know, if you're not giving information, of course, but they would have like a sexual designation, perhaps. Like, that's the only thing I could think of, you know, for that bump, because the bump came after that video. So I don't know. So now, like, he's got my schizo stuff activated. He sent me this, like, you know, a couple weeks back after it had after it racked up a lot of views. The only other like videos I get that even are close to that are stuff about music, you know, which I haven't really done a lot of lately. I just, you know, other things are coming to the forefront, and but there is a lot of music stuff happening that like every time a new band that like comes out with an album, like, oh, I should talk about that one, but I never do. I have to kind of be in the mood to do it. And like, it's just, you know, it's possibly the end of days, so there's always something kind of interesting going on. So just, that takes precedent. But yeah, the human trafficking thing here is really weird. Like, I've talked to people about it, and it's just one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter what information you have. And I wouldn't be spurgy enough to share anything that I think would get a knock at my door. You know, I'm not looking for that. It's a thing you can't do anything about. There is no higher authority to appeal to in this situation, because the higher authority indulges in this practice too. There was one thing recently that was going on the island that was happening in other places across the country, where they were where houses and neighborhoods were being listed in Google as public places. Certain kinds of public places. I'm not going to say it because I'm not, you know, I just talked about how I don't want to knock at my door. But what basically they were doing is these places were listed as commercial locations, and then when you'd go to look at them, it would just be like a house in the middle of a neighborhood. Some Anons on Pole put this whole thing together. So I did a search for my area, and indeed, that's, you know, I found some interesting things. Now, I wouldn't ever be spurgy enough to put that out there. You know, like I said, I don't want that knock on my door, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's just, that's what runs the world. And there's no higher authority, or, you know, you can't, who are you going to go to? The police? I mean, you can't, you know what I mean? Or the security guy, that guy, you're going to go to him? There is no one to go to. You know, there is no one to go to. And you're not going to fix it. I realized this was the case after all that stuff came out with the whole Pizzagate thing, where it was clearly evident that this stuff was going on. And I remember when it first all started coming out, and I was collecting all the stuff and saving all this on my old computer, which I don't have anymore, and isn't even, and it's, the remains of which are probably on the mainland, so I don't have any of this stuff now. But you know, it didn't take very long to figure out exactly what was happening, and it was really dark. And I remember thinking, well, shit, if a bunch of autists on the message board can see what's happening here, there must be men, good men with resources and the ability to do something about it, or call some kind of attention to it. And I just assumed it would happen, you know, fairly soon. I mean, if we were talking about it, it would have to, I'm sure someone was going to see it, and then someone with the resources to maybe do something, anything, would intervene in some way, or it would blow up as a story. And it didn't. And no one did anything. And it's not that they didn't see it. I mean, if I'm seeing it, I know I've just assumed someone with resources, with the ability to do something about it would. There were good men somewhere. Turns out there's not. There's not. And someone pointed out, we're those good men. We're the only ones that could ever, you know, we're the people that we're waiting for. When it comes to, you know, trying to uphold some kind of decency. Of course, we can't. I mean, what are we going to do? You know, really isn't anything you can do. And, I mean, going around and squawking about it, it's just going to get you killed. I mean, you know. And it was really after that they said, oh, okay, there are no good guys. There are no good guys here in this game, in this, you know, realm, the 3D area. That is actually, it's a 2D area, but your brain fills in the spaces to make it seem 3D, but it's actually, it's not 3D, it's 2D. You have foreground, background, but that's neither here nor there nor anywhere. The point is, there are no good guys. There are no white hats. They're not here. And then, you know, the more I thought about it, when I tied that idea into some other concepts, you know, the fact that this is some kind of training area, or at one point it was, or some kind of obstacle course, it would make sense that as a divine being or someone with divinity, that all you would have here is opposition. Any good guys who had divinity and some kind of power to do something, they're not here. Because that would be like, you know, it would almost be like cheating. Like, I can't, what kind of shitty analogy can I come up with for this? It's like trying to get a DM to help you out in a Dungeons and Dragons game. You know, like, there is someone running it, someone who's running the game that you're in, a game or the test thing, but they're not really here in the world with you. Actually, they're not running it, but someone that has higher authority. See, I told you, I have the shitty fucking analogies one after another. But anyone that could help you, or that could do something, isn't here. You know, we're the ones that have to figure out the game, have to figure out how to get over on things. Not in this particular instance. In this particular instance, there's no getting over it. People always say, like, money runs the world. Money makes the world go round. No, it doesn't. Money's bullshit. Those Babylonian paper squares are completely valueless to them. They make it. You know, they have all of it. You know, there is an argument to be made that once it goes through our hands as energy beings, once our energy goes toward earning it or moving it around, it then gets a charge, you know, more electricity words. It gets a charge, and then it has value to come back to them. But as far as making the world go around, no. It's kind of meaningless, especially when they make it. They control it. They can move it if they have to, move the money around, the wealth around. So it has to be something else that are of more value to them. And it, you know, there is, and it's pretty dark, you know. And the reason, well, there's a myriad of reasons why it's centered on young ones, little ones, because they're the closest to God, you know. They're closest to that divine realm or whatever it is, you know. So they were there more recently than we are. So there's that kind of innocence and that energy. So defiling, corrupting that gives them a lot of power. And as far as the consuming thing goes, they're not full of drugs and all the stuff that we get. And they probably like to get the ones that haven't gotten any vaccines yet. When you're young, you get a lot of shots for various things that I'm not going to get into that rabbit hole, but it turns out, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. What they do at that point is they put all these random modifiers into your system, and what it does is it puts you on, I just said I wasn't going to answer it, it puts you on this scale of death, like what you're going to die from. It's a random death generator that you carry around with you. Sometimes it comes to fruition when you're in your 30s and you drop dead from this or that, or this cancer or that cancer. That's all done when you're born. You know, they're just like, all right, here you go. You have your death stuff. That something out of all this stuff's going to make you sick at some point. That's how that's how that works in a very basic breakdown. But yeah, that's the currency. It's not money. The currency that makes the world go round, the things that are valuable to them, are little ones. You know, it's a pretty tough thing, you know, to come around to. And while it's one of those things you don't like to think about, you still have to think about it sometime, because it gives you that, you know, that urgency. It reminds you that this shit's real, you know, this shit is for real, and you have to do something here. You know, you have to make the best of what you can with what you have. You are important. You do have power. You've just been brainwashed, programmed, and under the victim of spellcraft to make you think you're insignificant. And a lot of the spellcraft is fucking lesser magic. It's not that advanced. Lesser magic is basically, you know, mind control, subliminal type stuff. Mind control itself can become more advanced, where they can create altars and all that kind of stuff, but like the MC, I almost said MC Ultra. Yo, I'm MC Ultra. We're gonna rock the house. MK Ultra. So it can be, but it still, I would think, falls under the definition of lesser magic. So, yeah, you got all that going against you. The reason someone like me was able to crawl out of any of that is because of where we are in the timeline and the veil that separates us from the reality of things is finally thinning out to a point where we're starting to see through it in areas, in different spots, you know? And that's just what's happening. If it wasn't for that, I doubt I would ever, you know, be trying to figure out where I could, you know, buy some weed and whose house I was going to drink beers and watch some stupid thing on TV. Who the fuck knows what I'd be doing, you know? It would be fucking retarded, though, I can guarantee you that. Because that seemed to be what I was doing for most of my life. Because you think, like, well, what's the point, you know? You think, like, well, none of this matters, right? I mean, we're just spinning around on this rock in the middle of space, and then you have the Carl Sagan thing pop in, and billions and billions and billions of miles, like the kid coming home from school, you know, and telling you that, hey, we had a substitute teacher, he was 30 feet tall. It's like, oh, really? You know, they all sound like that. You know, the lies have to be so ridiculous, the numbers have to be so high that it's like, to think about it, you're like, oh, well, like, I couldn't conceptualize that. You know, there's some smart boys out there that know all this stuff. I'm not even going to bother thinking about it. You know, you're meant to feel, and you're told that you're just nothing. You're a drop in the rain. You have no control over anything. They have to do this though, 24/7, 365. Every moment is spent trying to do that, to make you think that, or to get that idea in your head. Because if they let up for a minute of doing that kind of bullshit, you might have time to quietly reflect on the situation, and they can't have that. So it's got to be, they're just doing jumping jacks around you all the time. But yeah, this is a very sort of kind of a depressing, I don't mean it to be, it's just how it is, you know. But despite all that, no despair, because God wins in the end. I mean, they know they can't win. They're dying. It's all dying right now. But their intent is not to win. Although some of them in certain sects think they're going to. You know, they have these big boy plans, but it's not going to pan out. No fucking way. But Yeah, so I know the main people know that there is no victory here. So what they're doing is just trying to corrupt, destroy, and take down whatever portions of divinity or people with divinity that they can, it, in spite. That's what they're doing. So yeah, we just gotta hang in there. Everything will work out. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.